Hi everyone, I hope this video finds you doing well and staying healthy. It's definitely been a interesting last couple weeks and several days here. Definitely wasn't planning on a global pandemic in the middle of the semester and all the changes we'd have to make with that. But what I wanted to do today is just kind of go through some of those changes. That way we are all on the same page and are ready to go and can complete the semester on a positive note. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you real quick. That way we can see, so the slides I put together kind of outline the changes to make that go a little bit easier for us. So let me switch over here and get this all set up. Okay, so looking at the Seed 400 class, we're going to go through both Seed 400 and 394 since most of you are in both classes, but we'll say 394 for the very end. That way, if you're not enrolled in that class, you can kind of stop when we get to that point. Okay. Now with Seed 400, really there's not a ton of changes that we have to make. We were learning about lesson planning and kind of the process, how you actually do that, applying some of those kind of concepts and skills that we need to do as a teacher when we plan a lesson. And we're going to keep doing that. Right? I don't think there's any reason to stop doing that. I think it makes sense that we can continue doing that. We can do it in an online way. It's really just the shift in the delivery method is really all that's changed here. Okay. Now I have, because we are adding in some discussions, and I'll talk about those here on the next slide we go through. But because we are adding a little bit of content there, a little bit of extra assignments, I guess you could call it, I have eliminated exam 2. Because what I don't want to have happen is I keep adding assignments that account for this new format that we have for the course. And then you get overloaded because if all your classes start doing that, it's just going to become kind of unsustainable. So we want to make sure that we're being as flexible as possible and making it as simple as possible. Okay. Now, the other major change that I made in terms of assignments would be the lesson plan assignment that was due on the 26th of March, which is like this next week, is definitely not going to be due then. It's going to be due on the 19th of April. So you have roughly 3 or 4 more weeks to get that assignment done. Okay. And we are going to continue doing kind of this like practice lesson planning that we've been doing. You know, you've started with that standard deconstruction, then learning objectives, then we get into assessment. And really the next and kind of final step here is the learning strategies that we're going to use and learning how to put together an instructional sequence. Okay, so that's what we are doing. That's where we're going to be going into throughout the rest of the semester. Okay, now we do have some new assignments in the course. They're primarily just discussions. Okay, so we're going to do 2 discussions, and I know that for sure because that we have the next 2 weeks online. So we're going to do 1 discussion a week, and then if we go online longer, we may add some more discussions. But we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. I don't think anybody knows how long we're going to be online. I know some institutions are already saying, you know what, we're staying online for the rest of the semester. Others are kind of waiting and seeing, and I think that's the approach the Board of Regents here in South Dakota, what they're doing before they make a decision. So we'll just kind of roll with it as best we can. But for the next 2 weeks, we will definitely have 2 discussions that we do. And the way I set up my discussions, I teach a number of online classes, and I enjoy teaching online classes. Actually kind of fun to me. I really like it because these discussions that I create allow us to go a little bit more in depth than maybe what we would do in the classroom. Okay. Now the way I have them set up is I have 2 due dates for them. Okay. For a single discussion. So like discussion 1, you have a first post due date. And that's where I have in D2L a outline of some of the stuff that I want you to do. I have some questions and prompts. You have to respond to those by the first post due date. Right. And then that's always on a Wednesday. And then on Sundays when the discussion ends, and that's kind of the end of discussion due date. Okay, and then I have some additional things I want you to do. In this case, for what we're doing in this class, you'll have some questions for the first post that you go ahead and respond to, and then for the end of discussion, it's some peer assessment kind of stuff. So just it should be relatively easy for you to participate in these. And it's a way for me to kind of check in, are you understanding things right? I'll, definitely jump into each of the discussions. I put them in small groups, so it's easier for you to, interact with your peers, that kind of thing. Okay, but there are 2 due dates, so don't let that kind of confuse you. It's like, well, wait a minute, what's due by when? I try to outline that very clearly in D2L. I'll show you here in D2L what that looks like so you kind of have an idea of what's coming. Okay. Now, the other assignment that we're going to be doing is our inquiry-based learning research project. Okay, now in the prior syllabus, it was just listed as research project, and I hadn't really developed a lot with it yet. But we're still going to do this project. There's nothing really that's changed with this. It's just I'm wanting to let you know that it's coming. I'll introduce that once we kind of get near the end of the lesson planning stuff that we're going to do, and then you're going to get in your kind. I think it's a more or less unit planning is what you're going to be doing for this. Okay, I have the assignment description more or less hammered out. I'm going to make some more changes to it probably as we get into the next couple of weeks because I had been working on over spring break, and then my attention definitely shifted to, all these changes for all the classes that we had to move online. Okay, so that's really in terms of the assignments and things that we're doing, the major changes. Now we do have, I have created online office half hour. That's going to be on Tuesdays from 12:30 to 1 p.m., which is during our class time. And anytime you see a time, either in any of my videos I make or in D2L, those times refer to Central Time. I don't know how many of you live, throughout the world, live, West River in Mountain Time Zone or elsewhere in the country, so everything's in Central Time. Okay, so if you're wondering, well, is that 12:30 or is that 11:30 my time, 1:30 my time? What is that? It's 12:30 Central Time, so Vermilion time. Okay, but what online office half hour is, it's going to be a Zoom link. Zoom is a video conferencing technology. It's what I'm actually using right now to record this. And it's just an opportunity for you to, if you have questions, a way for you to actually talk to me live and in person. There's a link in D2L. I'll put it at the top of every single page we have in D2L, and you'll get the idea when I show it to you. That way it's easy for you to find. You click on it and you go through kind of a quick little setup on your computer. It takes literally like 2 minutes maybe at most to get connected. And then you can talk with me about anything you need. Okay. Now I scheduled it during our normal class meeting time, so that 12:31 is when we normally meet on Tuesdays. But if we need to, if that doesn't work for you for whatever, because definitely situations have changed. I know for myself, like my kids are home, I'm home. It's not like I'm at USD. I'm in my office at home. So things are going to be different. I know some of you are doing some childcare with your younger siblings, things like that. So we can be flexible with this. If you need to meet, in the afternoon or earlier in the morning, whatever it is, just got to email me, let me know, and we can get something set up. Okay. Now, for books, I know a lot of you have your books, but some of you don't, which we were kind of expecting. So I'm working to try and get the copy of the book from the publisher. The only one we'll be using kind of from here on out in C400 is the book by Denise White. It looks, I don't know if you can see my little picture, but it's this one right here. It's the Ready to Go Instructional Strategies that Build Collaboration, Communication, and Critical Thinking. That's the book we're going to use. This by Denise White and Alyssa Brady. I'm trying to get a digital copy of that. Contact the publisher. If I don't hear back from them by Sunday, Monday, somewhere in there, I will go ahead and probably run up the campus and start scanning this in. We were told by the university attorney that it's okay for us to violate copyright given the circumstances. So we're going to go ahead and scan that in, and I'll get it to you, and I'll do my best to create something that looks readable, at least is the goal here. So that will be coming. So if you don't have your book, don't worry. You don't necessarily have to run the campus if you're not in Vermilion. If you are in Vermilion, I mean, by all means, if you can get it, that might be the best. But if you're not in Vermilion, that's okay. We'll figure something out so you can have your book, okay, or have a book that you can use. And then kind of the last thing I want to talk about before we get into D2L and how that's organized is really just talk real briefly about how to avoid social isolation. So there's this kind of phenomenon that happens in online instruction where you kind of feel alone, feel like you aren't connected to other people. And I don't think any of us have necessarily been in this kind of situation before, where we've done half the semester face-to-face, and now we're looking at doing a good chunk of the class online. So I'm hoping that, we've developed relationships, we've talked a ton in class, that we can avoid some of this. But make sure that as we're going through the next couple weeks, at least, that you're asking lots of questions. That's really important, because I'm not there to see what you're doing, making sure, I'm always walking around the class when you have work time to see, what are you doing? What are you saying? Are you understanding things? I'm not going to be able to do that now, just because we're online. The discussions, I'll be able to see some of that based on what you're writing. But if you have a question, you have to let me know. Okay. Otherwise, I'm not going to know. Okay. The other thing you have to do is you have to be a little bit more outgoing in an online class. It's easy to hide in an online class, because if you don't post anything, then no one sees anything, right? So you have to post, you have to force yourself to, do the discussions, try to follow those due dates as best as you can. If I see that you haven't posted, by that first post discussion due date, I will follow up with you. I will, send you an email, probably start out with, if I don't hear back from you within, the next day, I'll probably see if I can figure out how to send you a text through the Coyote Connections, things like that. That way we don't, lose you because of this online platform that we're using. That's definitely something I don't want to have happen. I'm going to try my hardest to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. Now, to help with that, I've created these 2 discussion spaces separate from our course discussions. Okay, these aren't graded; these are optional things. You use them however you want to use them. But one is a student lounge discussion turn. That's just a place for all of you to get and talk if you want to talk about something that's going on, share information, whatever it might be. It's a, just a medium for you to interact. I will not go into that space. It's just there for all of you to use, okay? And then the other one is a Ask Dr. Emma question discussion thread, okay? And that's just the idea is you need a place to be able to ask questions, and sometimes you want to email it, sometimes you don't, maybe you don't know what's appropriate. This is a place where you can ask questions, right? It'd be just like if you came up to me at the podium or something like that in our classroom in Dalzell and asked me a question there, right? You can ask it there, you can email me, come to the online office half hour, that works too, but this is just another medium for that to happen. Now with this particular one, I will check that every single day, even on the weekend at 11:30 in the morning, just to see if there's anything new in there. I'll try to check it more periodically, especially, this first few days as we're getting kind of adjusted to this new normal that we're going to be going through for a little while. But I'll check it and I'll try to be as responsive as I can. If you feel like maybe I'm not being, like I missed something or whatever, you just gotta let me know, and I will follow up with you as soon as possible. Okay. Now the next thing I'll go over real quick before we get into 394 is D2L in the syllabus. Okay. So D2L, I have updated the syllabus. You should see it over here. So I will put the date behind it when I get it updated, and then in here, let's go through the syllabus real quick. The only things I've really changed in the syllabus is really I took out the exam and then added in our discussion activities. Okay, and you kind of see where the point breakdowns are. I think it increased the total points in the class a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. You all do such great work anyway. I'm not too concerned about that being a problem. Okay, and then when you get down here, I have organized by the readings, or obviously the date. And as we're online, I'm just going to label it week of and then the date. The readings you need to have done, so we're getting into the white book. That's that book I showed you a minute ago. So for this first week online, you're going to have chapters 1 to 2 out of the white book to read. They're pretty quick reads. They're very much application based, so that makes it really easy. And then we have our assignments due over here. I try to make all the assignments due on Sunday at midnight. That way it's nice and easy. That way you can just kind of start on the week, on Sunday, Monday, that kind of thing. The only thing that's not on a Sunday would be these initial posts, which are due on Wednesdays. Okay. Now, you'll notice that we have a large section of the schedule that's in light blue. This is the stuff that's like subject to change, right? Because there's so much unknown with the COVID-19 virus that we need to make sure that we aren't planning too far ahead, which is both, a good thing, but also a very frustrating thing. And it's definitely frustrating on my part because I can't quite plan out where I want us to go and exactly how we're going to get there. So it's, creating a little bit more work and extra stuff there, but we'll figure it out. I'm not overly concerned about it because I have an idea of what to do either way, whether we're, on the April 7th, if we're back in Dalzell, perfect. We're good to go. I know what we're going to do then. And then if we have to be online for another week, I know what we can do there as well. Okay, so I'm not too concerned. It's just which one do we need to use. So this stuff's very tentative. And it's just kind of how it is. It's just what we're gonna have to do for a little while, and it'll be okay. We just have to all be patient, be flexible, and just work together to support each other. Okay. Now we are going to be working on lesson planning probably through the 9th. When we get to the 14th, that's when I'm wanting to transition to doing our inquiry-based learning research project. That way you have some time at the end of the semester to kind of wrap that up, and it's just a little research project you're going to pick a inquiry-based teaching approach that you want to pursue a little bit and kind of learn more about it and apply it in practice as you create a unit plan. And that would be due on the last class of the semester. Okay. Our exam, the other thing I wanted to talk about, our final exam will be an online exam with everything that's going on. I just wanted to let everyone know and plan for that to be online, and it will be due at the end of our normal final exam time, which was scheduled for May 4th, 8 to 10 p.m., which is not probably the best time to take a test at the very end of the day. So we're going to make it online, and I'll make that available, after April 30th sometime. Okay. So let's go back to D2L real quick and just roll through some of that kind of stuff so you can kind of see where things are. So if you click on the content page, that's where everything is going to be for the class. Internet's a little slow at home. And so how I have this set up, once it loads, there we go. I have our learning objectives for what we're doing this week, so where we're going. So I describe that there for you. And then I have a short little lecture overview video where I talk a little bit about the content and a little bit about what you have to do that week. And then I list activities that I want you to do. So you need to read, you need to do the discussion activity, you need to submit your assessment assignment, right? That would be the main things. And speaking of the assessment assignment, I forgot to talk about that when we were talking through the slides. The assessment activity, that was something we had started before everything kind of went nuts in the world. So that's still going to be due. We're still going to turn it in, and it's going to be due on the 27th. So you have some time to get that turned in. So get that done. You have a little bit of time this week. If that doesn't seem to work for you for whatever reason, you just have to let me know, and we can be flexible with that. But you should be able to do that, and you should be ready to do that. I think I've gotten everyone feedback on their standard and objective assignment, except maybe a couple people that still hadn't turned it in. So if you're one of those people, make sure you get that turned in as soon as possible. Otherwise, just go ahead and submit the assessment activity. I have the Dropbox for that kind of at the bottom of the page. But here's the link for the online office half hour and the times that we meet. You just click on it, and then you just go through the steps. I think it downloads a tiny little app that runs on your computer so you can participate. Super easy. I have the online discussion expectations and evaluations. This is really more of like what you should expect when you go ahead and do the discussions in this class. So read that, it's how you're going to be evaluated, all that kind of stuff. And then I have your discussion activity, okay? And you can see it's very clear what you have to do. So by March 25th, you need to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that's what you have to do. And then after that, by the end of the discussion on the 29th, you have to do, looks like 1 part A and B, okay? So I try to make it as very like clear cut and explicit as I can. If something's not clear, you just have to let me know. And then at the bottom, we have our assessment assignment Dropbox, so you can submit that. And then here's your student lunch. If there's something you want to put in there, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you need to ask me a question, that's there for you as well. Each week we are online, we are going to be set up in a very similar way. I have pretty much everything done for the second week that will be online. I do make like this little video, I think still is about it, okay? I'm gonna try and keep this amount of these like lecture videos under 20 minutes. That's kind of my goal. This one might be a little bit longer just because of the nature of what we're talking about, but these other ones, I think this one's about 15 minutes, something like that. So I'm trying to keep them as short as possible, just, to keep it, quick and easy for you. I definitely don't want to go any longer than that, okay? So that's Seed 400. That's what we need to do for updates there. But I'm going to go back to the slides here because we have Seed 394 that most of you are enrolled in as well. So if you're not enrolled, you can go ahead and stop here, and I will, talk to you through discussion posts or office hours, whatever it might be, email. So stay healthy if you're dropping off now. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into Seed 394. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Seed 394 and the changes to the internship. So there's a number of things we have had to eliminate with this class. And mainly that's because our placements have been canceled. There's not much we can do about that because we really are talking about safety here. We got to make sure the kids and the teachers at the school stay healthy and that all of you stay healthy as well. So we have had to cancel those placements. And really, I'm not sure if we would have, even if they didn't cancel them, if we wouldn't be able to do it anyway, because the middle school here in Vermillion is closed. Basically all the schools in the state of South Dakota are closed. We're all playing it week by week to see what we're going to do. And they're thinking, even though school's only closed this next week, it's probably going to be mid-April before kids are actually back in school. So we just got to wait and see what's going to happen there. But by that time, it's going to be, too late for us to do anything. So that experience is done. So whatever time you've had with students is what you have. If you didn't go out for your week long yet, unfortunately, it's just not going to happen now, which is definitely unfortunate. We're trying something different this semester, and it looked like it was going pretty well. So I was excited about all the work you're doing. It sounds like I only heard positive things from the teachers at the school, but it is what it is, and we'll just kind of make lemonade out of lemons, that kind of thing. So now that the alternative here is what we're going to do when you get to your residency, though. I've talked with Dr. Kindle and Dr. Weavers, who are kind of in charge of the residency and making sure everything takes place there. They have said that they're going to work to get you additional middle school experiences during your residency. What that looks like has not been determined yet. They're still working through that. There's other things they have to deal with, obviously, first. But you'll still do your placements most likely wherever you had been placed already. But you'll probably just have additional time, like in a middle school, for part of your experience. That way you can make up some of the stuff that you missed from your, the C394 class. Now, We will not be doing our performance assessment tasks 2 and 3 because those were the tasks that required being in the school and working with kids. So obviously those are gone. So I've taken those out of the class. And then the midterm mentor teacher eval and journal, we are just going to skip that, not do that either, and only focus on the final because now it's basically the midterm has turned into the final evaluation from them. Now, this class was set up and the way it was designed was to have you do a lot of your contact hours out in schools. That's why we don't meet very much for it. But now that we're not doing that, like I don't want to create a bunch of extra work for you to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it in an independent study format. And what that looks like is you're basically going to work on these assignments. Okay, so this is what we have left this semester. So what we are looking at is we're going to have the mentor-teacher evaluation in your journal, kind of the final assessment of all that stuff, because we have what we have, and we'll get the whatever feedback we can get from the teachers to you. And then for your journals, I think I have all of your journals in Google Docs. So all you have to do is go ahead and have those updated by the 29th, which is this coming Sunday. So make sure you get those done, and then I will go ahead and get you, assessed on that, which I'm sure you all did just fine on that. I'm not worried about that assignment at all. That should be a pretty quick one to get through. I have created a new assignment for you to do. It's actually not a new assignment. For me, I've taught this assignment several times in the past, and basically what you do is you watch a video of a teacher teaching, and then you evaluate it, okay? And I'll go into more detail here on the next slide, but that's gonna be due on the 5th, so you have basically the next 2 weeks to do that. And then by the 12th, your volunteering essay, I want you to have that done. Now, with volunteering, that's another thing that requires contact with other people. So what we are going to do for that is kind of change some of the expectations. So I think originally it was 10 hours. Now we're dropping it down to 3. So if you've done 3 or more hours, you are able to finish this assignment just as we have planned it. If you have less than 3 hours, we will have to come up with an alternative for you to do. Now, I didn't want to take the time to create the alternative because I don't know where everyone is. So if you have less than 3 hours, you need to email me so I know, and then I will figure out what we'll do next with you, okay? And then the last thing is our Class A resources presentations that we were doing in class. About a third of you have presented, which means you have about 2/3 of the class that still have not done it. So my hope here is that we can do this kind of on the last day of the semester face-to-face. I'm hoping that we can get back to campus so we can do some of this stuff together. But if not, we'll do something slightly different for those of you that have not gone, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together, but that's kind of a TBD for the moment, okay? So let's talk real briefly about the lesson analysis and evaluation assignment. So that's going to be due on the 5th. It's a 20-point assignment. We're basically just shifting some points around from other things in the class that we weren't able to do. So basically what you're going to do is I have a video in D2L that you're going to watch, and I'll show you what that is here in a minute. But I have a video of a class, a teacher teaching. It's a social studies classroom. The content doesn't really matter in this to use the class dimensions. That's really what the focus of this class is on some of those kind of teacher leadership and teaching strategies and those kind of things, how you actually interact and be effective in the classroom. You can do that in any classroom, but it's a social studies classroom. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna watch it, and as you do it, you have this analysis paper that you're gonna end up writing, right? You're gonna justify 3 strengths that you see in the lesson using those class dimensions. That's gonna be about a page. And then you're gonna justify 3 weaknesses that you see in the lesson, also using the class dimensions. That'll be another page. And then you evaluate the lesson, right? We're looking at the success of the lesson, how engaged students were, and then what would you do differently? And for that, we're looking for about 1.5 to 3 pages. Okay, so it's not overly long. It's just a basic analysis paper, something you can do kind of independently. It should hopefully be, easy enough for you to complete. Okay, now if you have questions, you gotta let me know about that one, because this is something new that I'm introducing kind of at a distance, so not like our normal with some of these other assignments. Okay, now next steps for the internship. Again, if you have less than 3 hours of volunteering, you need to email me by the 24th of this month at noon. That way I can begin coming up with an alternative for you. That way we can give you enough time to make sure you get it done by the end of the semester. I'm not sure what that looks like, so we'll have to kind of just see who needs that as an option, and then I'll put something together for you. And then really the only other thing is you gotta ask a lot of questions when they come up. You can email me, attend the online office half hour. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to go through real quick is D2L 4C394. So I have that open here. I have our updated syllabus here. I can click on that just to pull it up and make it a little bigger so we get loaded. So I have put in kind of a little schedule here of when things are kind of, a good chunk of what we have left is really just an independent study, wrap up what we've started. Due dates for everything are here. And then hopefully we can have this last class on the 30th of April where we can all get together. Okay. So that's what the syllabus looks like. Not a whole lot of change there. And then on the content page, I really didn't make many changes to this class at all. The only thing I have added, I've rearranged these, they're in order. All our assignments are in order of when they're due. So we have our mentor teacher stuff here in the journal, so you know what you have to do for that. Here's the lesson analysis and evaluation. I have a full assignment description for that, so that should be pretty simple to take care of. And then here's the video, and then here's the Dropbox. So there's not a whole lot different there. Then everything else is what was there before. You won't see, you see because we're logged in as me, but you'll only see the performance assessment and the task one, which is the same lesson plan that you're doing in C400. So this carry over there, and then the class resources at the bottom. So 394, a lot of changes in terms of what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, but not a lot of changes in D2L. Okay, so that's kind of what I have to share with you for now. I think everything's going to turn out okay. You're all going to be prepared and ready to go for your residency. I'm not concerned about that at all. We just have to be flexible, know that things may change based on what things are doing in the world, right? That's what we're reacting to at this point right now. So until we see each other face to face again, I'll see you online and just stay healthy. Okay, we'll see y'all later.